Hello and welcome. This is rooflemonger, my friends. Did you enjoy the Alex trailer? Probably, hopefully anyways. Are you going to enjoy waiting months and months for him? Probably less so much. We got a hot minute to wait for Alex, but in the meanwhile, we do got a little bit of Street Fighter 6 news, and in this long wait for Alex, as far as news goes, we takes what we can get. So the other day, we had the Japan Esports Awards. And not too much subtle about it. It's exactly what you think it is by the name. And like any award show, there's watch-along parties. And one of those watch parties just happened to have Daigo Umehara on it. You know, Street Fighter all-time legend. And on it as well was Shuhei Matsumoto, who is one of the producers for Street Fighter 6. And this ain't the glory days of late Street Fighter V anymore, where the producers Shuhei Matsumoto and Takayuki Nakayama, we would hear from them fairly often in seasonal updates. They've been close to radio silent for the last good long while in Street Fighter 6. So getting anything out of one of these two is pretty welcome and rare. So this is not like giant truth bombs or like, hey, here's the patch notes for a future patch or anything, but it's something which is better than the nothing we usually get. And before we dig into it, very big ups to Chris F. and our pals at Event Hubs for some of the translation. So that said, what was asked in this stream? So apparently the very first thing is Daigo asked for Akuma buffs, which I'll forgive you because you're a legend. And apparently Matsumoto just stonewalls it, so there you go. But on the balance note, he does bring up the balance patch that we recently had in December. The one that realistically had very small changes, mostly buffs for Ellen and Sagat, and small ones at that, and very minuscule nerfs for Mai, and it caused a bit of a backlash, which we also covered on the channel, because people found it kind of, frankly, insulting that you have to wait so long for anything to move forward on the Street Fighter 6 front, and then when it finally happens, it's so small and mostly inconsequential. To be real, the Sagat stuff, like, he got some nice stuff, but, like, it didn't move Mai any lower on the tier list or anything like that. And the direct quote about that patch from Matsumoto is, there were a lot of people who felt that it wasn't quite at the level they had expected, speaking about the patch, and that the response from the people, which reflected that sentiment, felt like it was bigger than it's ever been before, meaning people were both underwhelmed and underwhelmed in greater numbers than ever. We felt that in moving forward, the amount of changes in our patches and the frequency of the patches is something we need to look over and reconsider. Which is great, but we're going to come back to it because we've heard that before. Going on to add, also, when we say we're going to do balance changes, there are things that are simply character changes, and there's changes that will affect the entire environment of the game, right? Meaning like system changes versus character-specific balance changes. So we should be more clear that from our side, which one of those we're going to be actually talking about when we say that a patch is coming. I was a bit nervous to express this, but there it is. So, hey, the big round of complaining we all had after the recent patch saying, you know, hey, it needs to be a lot more than this and probably more often. Believe it or not, they actually heard that. Now, that said, this is the same song and dance they've been saying since 2024 about things like more frequent patches. This is not a new saying, and obviously, hey, it's 2026 now, y'all. Happy New Year. And maybe they didn't follow through on that one exactly. But still, at least this time around, the complaints are so loud they cannot be ignored. There's a lot of hopes that Season 4, whenever that may be later in spring of this year, Season 4 is, you know, the significant patch. Something that is just more in the, you know, the few small tweaks we've been getting for, like, the lifespan of the game. Because, you know, the complaints have always been like, hey, you're playing it too safe. Like, yes, you don't want to potentially mess something up like Tekken 8 Season 2, but if you keep it too safe for too long, the game's basically the same. People get bored. People move on. Yes, Street Fighter 6 is doing a lot better than Street Fighter 5 was comparatively, but there's diminishing returns on that to a point. Street Fighter, ever since Street Fighter 2, is a franchise famous for the fact that it changes and evolves often. Change is part of the Street Fighter DNA, And Street Fighter 6 really is the only game in the franchise so far that's barely changed since it came out, other than the addition of new characters. Like, it's not that there's been nothing, like, say, like the Battle Hub update. That was really cool, like, lots of nostalgia. The V-Rival system's really neat. But that's not new moves, new supers, new systems, new mechanics, like Street Fighter is famous for adding over the years for its various games. Even some of the best players in the world who benefit the most from the game barely changing on the esports end of things want change. It's, frankly, some would argue, overdue for Street Fighter to start shaking things up. Of course, realistically, that can't happen now. Capcom Pro Tour concludes in March. Alex probably launches right after Capcom Cup is finished. So we have to wait for Ingrid, which is sometime nebulously in late spring, for Season 4 to begin. And hopefully some major changes, more than just, a plus or minus here or there. Because we've done that, we've been doing that, and, other than when they put the rocket to Ryu and strap him up and force him to be one of the best characters in the game, not much has happened too much on the game balance front, realistically anyways. Like, things are happening because they want them to happen or not happen. Ryu got the rocket in terms of buff because they wanted more Ryus in competitive play, end of story. Someone like Hondo or Lily, they wallow in misery because they do not want these characters to be heavily seen in competitive play. It's a very conscious decision. A very frustrating one, especially for me because those are my characters. But it's very much by design, right? Like, they have planned it to be this way. The only thing is now with this much outcry after the December patch and like so little changing over so much time, even they have to like give to the realization of the fact, like, hey, if people are complaining, maybe something has to change up at some point. So I just wanted to make the video because to hear it from one of the producers themselves is a rare treat. Again, in the later era of Street Fighter V, hearing from the producers was a very common thing. We got those seasonal updates. Hey, here's what's going on. Here's what the future. Here's what the plans are. That was awesome. But Street Fighter 6 was sort of a success out of the gate. And I guess the need to communicate with the player base also kind of left with that. But at bare minimum, now we know that they know, right? That's some brand of comfort, at least. Now, will they follow through? That's another question entirely. But hey, here's hoping, I guess. I just want to see more out of Street Fighter V. I'm very interested in Alex, at least. And of course, we'll cover it more on the channel as it happens. But, shaking up Street Fighter 6 is something I'm really looking forward to. So I hope they actually pull through on that front. But that said, my friends, that is the news for now. So thank you very much for watching. Hope this video has found you well. And go out and play some Street Fighter.